They say Louisiana hides its secrets in the swamp, dark, still, and deep enough to swallow anything that tries to surface. It's a place where history hums through the moss, where mansions whisper, and where the ground itself sometimes forgets what it's holding. But tonight, we're not wandering Bourbon Street or tasting gumbo. We're going somewhere stranger. These are the 5 weirdest places in Louisiana. Spots where science, superstition, and the human heart all get tangled in the same slow river. Tucked away behind old oaks dripping with Spanish moss, the Myrtles plantation looks peaceful, almost too peaceful. From a distance, it's the picture of southern charm. White columns, green shutters, and that slow summer quiet. But get a little closer, and you can feel it. That goosebump silence, the one that makes you check over your shoulder for no reason. Locals call it one of America's most haunted homes, and the stories floating around here? Whew, they're wild. There's talk of Chloe, the enslaved woman with a tragic backstory, a poisoned birthday cake, and a mirror that supposedly traps souls. Some folks swear that if you take a photo inside, faces show up later. Faces nobody remembers seeing there. What really gets you isn't just the ghost tales, though. It's that vibe. The air in those rooms feels thick, like the house itself is remembering things it can't quite let go of. Tour guides tell you about footsteps in empty halls, perfume that appears out of nowhere, and that one room where your phone battery just dies for no reason. Sit under that old oak in the garden at sunset, and you'll get it. The sound of frogs, the soft hum of the wind, and this eerie calm that makes you wonder how much of history actually stays buried. But here's the thing. While the Myrtles might hold faces in its mirrors, the next place we're going, it holds holes in the earth itself. And what's inside those holes might just change the way you think about solid ground. 2. The Bayou Corne Sinkhole. Now imagine this. One night you go to bed in your quiet Louisiana town, and by morning, the ground has literally disappeared. That's what happened in Bayou Corne back in 2012. People woke up to the sound of the earth groaning, and when they stepped outside, trees were sliding into a black, bubbling pit that hadn't been there the day before. At first, it was the size of a small pond. Then it grew and grew. It swallowed acres of forest, pulling everything down like some living creature. They started calling it the monster of Assumption Parish, and honestly, it fits. When you stand near it, even now, you'll see the surface moving, breathing almost. It pops, hisses, and exhales methane bubbles that smell like metal and rain. It's quiet, but it's not still. And that's what makes it weird. The ground beneath your feet doesn't feel trustworthy anymore. Scientists said it was a collapsed salt dome caused by drilling. But locals, they'll tell you something else. They talk about nights when the sky glowed faintly green, or when the air itself felt heavy, like a warning. Some swear they heard deep, echoing sounds from underground, not rumbling but groaning, as if the earth was alive and angry. Families were forced to leave. Whole neighborhoods became ghost towns overnight, front porches sagging, children's bikes left half buried in mud. It wasn't just a geological event. It was like watching your home get erased one gulp at a time. And the strangest part, the sinkhole's still moving. Not fast, not dramatic, but slow, steady, like it's thinking. It's one thing to visit a haunted house, but it's another to realize the land itself might be haunted by greed, by mistake, or by something deeper we can't name. And if you think that's unsettling, wait till you see a place where the dead don't rest below the ground, they rest above it. Third, St. Louis Cemetery No.1. New Orleans doesn't hide its dead. It stacks them above the earth in long, crumbling rows of white stone, like little houses for the afterlife. And nowhere does it feel more alive with spirits than St. Louis Cemetery No.1. The reason's partly practical. Louisiana's water table makes burials tricky, but it's also cultural, spiritual, and deeply human. Here lies Marie Laveau, the legendary voodoo queen of New Orleans, and even today, people come to her tomb to whisper wishes, leave coins, beads, or scrawled X's on the stone. Tourists might roll their eyes, but for many locals it's not superstition, it's respect, it's conversation. The living talking to the dead, and sometimes they say the dead talk back. Walk between the narrow aisles and you'll see lipstick marks, candles, little offerings of rum and tobacco. The air smells of wax and wet stone, and every footstep echoes like a heartbeat. You can feel the weight of belief here, not fear but reverence. There are stories, of course, of ghostly figures in white, of sudden chills, of wishes granted days after a visit. But the strangest part is how natural it feels. Here, death isn't final. It's just another neighbor in the city's long conversation with itself. If you listen closely, you might even hear a whisper in the wind, a reminder that in New Orleans the past isn't gone. It's just waiting for someone to say hello. And speaking of ghosts that never rest, the next stop isn't a cemetery, but a mansion where cruelty itself left a stain so deep it refuses to fade. For the LaLaurie Mansion. Right in the heart of the French Quarter stands a house too beautiful for its own story. The LaLaurie Mansion, all elegant balconies and polished wood, hides one of the darkest secrets in New Orleans history. In the early 1830s, it belonged to Madame Delphine LaLaurie, a socialite adored for her grace and charm, until one fire changed everything. When rescuers broke into her attic, they found evidence of horrific abuse against enslaved people, injuries and conditions so cruel, even by the standards of that brutal era, that the city turned on her instantly. She fled, vanishing into history, but the house stayed. And so did something else. Residents since then have reported cries at night, chains rattling, footsteps echoing through empty halls, or he heard someone begging, not for help, but for forgiveness. What makes it weirder is how ordinary the house looks. You could walk by it on a sunny afternoon and not feel a thing, until you do. A sudden drop in temperature, a tightness in your chest, a sound just faint enough to make you doubt your own ears. The LaLaurie Mansion doesn't just feel haunted, it feels ashamed. It's the rare ghost story where the villain isn't the spirit, but the memory of human cruelty. And maybe that's what makes it linger. Because pain, like a curse, doesn't always die when the people do. But while this mansion holds the echo of suffering, our last stop holds something quieter, a place not haunted by the dead, but by the slow disappearance of the living. Drive south, as far as the road will take you, and you'll reach a sliver of land barely clinging to the edge of the Gulf, Isle de Jean Charles. Once, it was home to a thriving indigenous community, the Biloxi Chitimacha Choctaw tribe. Families fished, built houses, raised children here for generations. Then, the water started creeping in, slowly at first, then faster. Storm by storm, inch by inch, the land began to sink and dissolve. Now, much of it's gone. Streets end in water, shrimp boats rest on what used to be front yards, and those who stay live with the sound of waves that never stop coming closer. It's haunting, but not in the ghost story way. It's haunting because it's real. It's the quiet tragedy of watching your home disappear, knowing it's not a story, it's your life. The people here call themselves the first American climate refugees. The governments tried to relocate them, but many refused to leave. "This is where my ancestors are," one elder said. "If the water takes me, it takes me here. Stand on the island at dusk and you'll see what they mean, the horizon stretching forever, the wind carrying both sorrow and strength. It's not just a vanishing island, it's a vanishing way of life." And maybe, just maybe, that's the strangest thing about Louisiana. Not the ghosts or the legends, but the way it holds on to everything: joy, pain, memory, and loss. 5 places, 5 flavors of weird. Louisiana reminds us that weird isn't just about fear, it's about feeling. Because every odd corner here tells a story, not of monsters or magic, but of what it means to be human in a land that never stops shifting. So tell me, which of these would you visit first? Or which one would you never dare step into after dark? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this journey through the strange heart of the South, hit that like button, subscribe, and